Still being there listening to Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abeokuta Citizens Forum, a time in which we engage ourselves in issues around the country, around the world. This morning is not going to be different. It has not become a maxim here in Nigeria when, with the phrase, when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. How he does that, which form corruption uses to do its own fighting back could come in different ways. In actual fact, since we began that fight against corruption over a decade ago, remember it's actually started fiercely really by the former president. We had different reactions, we had different twists and turns to issues around it. At a point in time, Ribadu was alleged to be being used to fight political opposition. Yes, that still remains some opinion of some people today, even as some will also say this is the first time we will see physical reactions, physical war against corruption, and they will be quick in adding that even though it is being fought frontally but not holistically. Well, that appears to be the stage in the issue of who remains, who controls as the head of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC. Remember, statutorily, the man who has been acting for over 6 months should have been confirmed. If he cannot be confirmed by the Senate, it's either the presidency goes ahead and veto it or replaces him. But the drama is still on. Significantly, Toby, is a statement coming from Shehu Soni, the man whose committee recommended that Magu is not fit to hold that position. He's talking about Babachiri Lawal now. He said that the letter sent, if it is true, is a funeral speech to to corruption. Interesting. I also watched Sonny this morning on the TV reinstating his position and trying to defend the wholesome of allegations that the drama coming between the National Assembly and the presidency over the insistence that Ibrahim Magu should be the head of the EFCC. This is what we'll be looking at this morning, the insistence of the presidency on Magu as the head of the crime fighting agency. Dele Ayodo remains my name.
I am Tobi Joseph. On Tuesday, the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, on the floor of the Senate, read a letter from President Buhari talking about the President's insistence on the appointment of Ibrahim Magu as Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The letter was said to have been sent to the Senate on Sunday, January 23, by the Vice President, who is now the acting President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. If you recall, just like Dele said, the Upper Legislative Chamber had on December 15, 2016, rejected Magu after it was presented with a security report on him compiled by the Department of State Services. Now, that is the crux of the matter because it appears to be some kind of two different reports that has been relied upon to determine the fate of Magu as EFCC chair. So you begin to wonder, where did this particular report from the DSS come from? There are some allegations that were actually leveled against Magu. But one interesting twist also to this is that the president's age, or that is the president's advisor on National Assembly matters, the Senate to be precise, Senator Ita Enang, said he is not aware of a fresh letter from his principal asking the Senate to reconsider and confirm Ibrahim Magu as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mr. Enang made a disclosure to the news agency of Nigeria on Monday, reacting to reports President Muhammadu Buhari had renominated Mr. Magu after he was rejected last year.
Actually, the truth about the whole thing, Toby, is because hopefully after 10 o'clock we may be able to speak with either Shehu Soni or the chairman of the Media Committee of the Senate. I think they are saying that the use of the word insistence, the two parties, presidency and national assembly, is a media word that they have not written a fresh letter. They are not insisting that it has to be Magu. But what they did is to convince the senators to give them additional information why they should consider Magu. Well, you can say it's a case of six and a half dozen. It's still the same thing, but they just want to play it down. They don't want it to appear as if there's a confrontation or a likely disagreement between the two groups. That's why they're saying what that letter is saying is to try and give the additional information and convince those who have not been convinced that Magu is good for the job. I think they have also worked on the DSS. I also listened to an interview by the DSS DG saying there's no quarrel about it. He wouldn't have sent two different reports about Magu, and that if he has a report about Magu, it would not be laid in front of any other person other than the CNC. That's the president, the commander-in-chief. So, which one do we want to believe? That's why we are here. That's why we will continue to monitor, and that's why we will, of course, we are all stakeholders. We must be able to find out what our own thinking is and which one should be the right thing for us on this topic.
That is why I said there are so many damning allegations against Magu. It seems that some people, just like you said, Maman Dara, who is the DG of DSS, is saying that they are not aware of such allegations or criminal activities of Ibrahim Magu that the Senate relied upon to reject his nomination in December. Professor Itse Sage, who is the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption, actually also said that all these allegations were cooked up and used against Magu. So there seems to be some kind of intrigue in all this. We'll be looking at all this this morning. That is why we have a learned fellow in the studio, a friend of the house and the former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, Behuta branch, lawyer Patrick Iwu. You're welcome to the Daybreak Show once again.
Thank you very much, and good morning, listeners.
All right, let me say, from all this drama, reports coming in and out, what do you make of all this?
Well, it's unfortunate thing. Nigeria is a country where we hardly get correct information from government. So whatever we are going to say or whatever everybody is going to say, this is based on sheer speculation. Having said that, it's really very, very unfortunate the situation we found ourselves right now, because the essence, the whole thing boils down to one thing, that issue has been effectively politicized. And well, if you ask me, it is a very good development, because before now, nobody has really been interested in who becomes head of EFCC. So why is it now that all the interest, all the intrigue, all the distance is being played out? Why is it now that the Senate is now rising up and, fine. If they now say Magu is corrupt, good. Now tell me who is going to fight corruption in Nigeria?
That's are you saying we won't find anybody, we won't find someone who will fight corruption? Allegation of corruption was not leveled against Ribadu. Ribadu was just being said, being accused of playing to the
yes. Now, you know one thing. Now, one thing is alleging corruption. Another thing is come out specifically to tell Nigerians what these issues are. Nobody has come out to say, okay, Magu did A, B, or C. All we are saying is this so-called security report. And in Nigeria, security report can pass for anything. In Nigeria, a first lady can concoct anything and they will tell us it's security report and everybody will go to town with it. That's the unfortunate thing. Let them come and tell us specifically. Because at this stage now, you agree with me, nobody is saying that Magu is not competent. Nobody is saying that he can't do that job. But all they are saying is, the alleging is that there is this security. Come out and tell fellow Nigerians specifically, did he steal? Did he collect bribe? At what point? From who? Where? How?
The allegation has been made, true or false. On high moral pedestal, should the presidency insist on Magu?
Now, Yes, if the presidency believes that this is the man that can do that job,
It's tainted already.
Tainted by what?
I don't know that either it is true or not. You just say
now hold on.
Speculations.
If the people should have their way, which means there is a particular fellow they want.
No, they are not the one who will pay. Still the president that will pay.
Beautiful. Now they want to kind of blackmail the presidency. That is my own fear. That is my own worry. Now I want to give you, let's deviate a little. Look at Chief of Army Sir Buratai. Now there was this allegation, the man owns property in Dubai, he did this, he did that. But this is one man that has laid his life down to fight Boko Haram. And since he's been there, everybody has seen the difference. Okay, now I am not saying Magu is a saint. I have not said so. But I'm saying this, somebody has to do this job. And why is the Senate?
Somebody has to do it.
Yes.
Why must it be Magu? Why not somebody
if the presidency believes that this is a man that can do the job they have in mind, why not?
With the position that we are now, do you think Magu can effectively function? Because you've just said it. If it is true, some people are trying to blackmail him. Some people are trying to have him away. And if it's forced on those people, naturally, as a human, will he not first go after those people, rightly or wrongly?
Now, the thing is very fighting corruption. If you ask me, should be an open stuff. If the man comes and starts picking people, before you start picking us, before you start making arrests, there must be an allegation. Is Magu going to sit in his office to manufacture these allegations? Then, if he does that, he should be taken up.
But another problem EFCC has faced for a very long time is the issue of media trial and media arrest. So this will give Magu an opportunity to also have his pound of flesh on these people without coming out with facts and issues to prosecute them with.
I am not a spokesman for Magu, but my opinion is it's not going to be that way. Why are they afraid of Magu? Why? The question is why?
Why is the president himself not investigating those reports from the Senate? Now, why do they want to just dump it?
What are the reports?
No, the Senate said they've come out with a report, recommendations on their funding. They had a committee, 9-member committee, which 7 out of the 9 signed the letter and the report to the presidency.
Okay.
I think, you know one thing? Unfortunately, I for one don't have confidence in the Nigerian Senate. Unfortunately, I don't.
So you are speaking from that position of bias.
Yes, my own personal. This is my own personal opinion now, which I may be wrong, because now check the list of senators we have. They are not people that can evoke that kind of confidence. So if these people are the ones now checking somebody who is being appointed by the presidency to fight corruption, in fact, I am inclined to lean towards Magu. That is the basis of my
because many of the senators themselves have cases with EFCC.
Beautiful.
Okay, now for us to get this in proper perspective, I think we need to look at some of the allegations that were leveled against Magu. 8 of them in number. The first is a breach of EFCC protocols. They said Ibrahim Magu breached the EFCC protocols by being in possession of EFCC documents in his private residence during the chairmanship of Farida Waziri. You will recall. Then 2, he was arrested and detained when he was a police officer. Okay, you're trying to write that down. So some believe that that's a dent on his reputation, because it means that he must have been criminal for him to have been arrested and detained as a police officer. Then they talked about his expensive lifestyle. They said that a sum of 40 million naira was paid for his rented apartment, which cost 20 million naira per annum, in the Central Business District in Abuja, where he resides. Added to that, they found out that accommodation was not paid from the commission's account, but by a presidential appointee, who is also under investigation. 4, this close association with a corrupt presidential appointee. They believe that he runs a very questionable business, was once arrested by the service, and this presidential appointee is a retired Air Commodore who is presently under investigation, and he travels in a private jet owned by this retired military officer. 5 is close ties with corrupt officials. They said the EFCC boss, Magu, was once in the same flight to Maiduguri with the managing director of one of the new generation banks, who it alleged was under investigation. Another allegation discredited him. It added that the bank chief had been linked with the former Minister of Regional Resources, Mrs. Dizani Alice Madike, who is under investigation. 6, they said the EFCC boss was also accused of making false allegations against individuals for personal reasons. That means he has no facts, he just goes to press and releases damning and libelous claims. Then 7, he has a very strong tie with the former EFCC chairman, Ibrahim Magu. They said Ibrahim Magu played a very important role in the appointment and, of course, free hand Magu enjoyed. And so there are clear indications of his culpability in the allegation of corruption tendencies of Magu-led EFCC. Then 8, making use of police cronies to execute operations. They said this one is very, very, very serious because they believe that these cronies have acquired landed properties not only in Abuja but in Lagos. Specifically, they mentioned Magodo. That if you doubt it, just go to Magodo Estate and try to find out those who are acquiring houses and properties there. You find out that many of them are EFCC staff, and then you begin to wonder how much are they paid that they're actually acquiring properties in millions.
All right, Mr. Iwu, you are a lawyer. 8 counts charge. Are they waiting?
They are laughable. They are laughable allegations. Most sincerely. Now, to start with, why is it now? Why is it now that these people have did this feat to bring out all these allegations? Why is it now? Before now, what did they do about these things? He was a breach of EFCC protocol. Being if he doesn't have EFCC, doesn't take EFCC file to his house, is it my own file he's going to take to his house? If are you with me? Now arrested and detained for what? President Buhari was arrested and detained before he became president. General Obasanjo was arrested and detained before he. I mean, these are all laughable allegations. None of them is weighty enough. They've not come out to tell us that this man has been convicted. Or maybe there's a very strong. All this is mere allegation.
Or maybe he stole.
Or maybe he stole anything good. Looted funds. Nobody has come. Beautiful. Nobody has come out to make any specific. All these things are just laughable things. He entered into a flight with somebody. Believe you me, maybe there is no way when you enter into all these public things, you will not
meet somebody.
So by meeting that person there, you are now maybe by association now. I mean, these are laughable things. Now tomorrow, I'm alleged of having done something. Then Dele, Ayodo, and you, Tobi Joseph, you will now be alleged that because you were with PC Iwu on a radio program, you should not. I mean, these are laughable things. Let them come out to tell us specifically.
In recent times too, people have seen Magu associating with top members of this National Assembly. He goes to pray with them, sit down, they go to meetings, Fridays and other. And some Nigerians believe that himself is trying to lobby. If it is true that he's lobbying, would this be good for his confidence to do the job?
Now, you see,
or are these not true signs that he's showing interest in that job?
Now, if he shows, what's wrong in him showing interest in that job?
When he's under public trial like this, I think don't you think the right thing for him is to withdraw and then let people see him as somebody who could stand the heat?
There has been more damning allegations against the president of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
These are different assignments.
They are not different. Yes, has he resigned? Did he resign?
They are different assignments.
What's the difference?
If you work as a security man to catch a thief, it's different from somebody who shoplifts.
Beautiful. Now, the we have this local balance in Nigeria. Say to catch a monkey, you have to behave like monkey. What if the man is behaving like a monkey to catch the monkey? We've seen detectives going into brothel areas. When, perhaps assuming you know one and maybe you happen to see him there.
So you don't see
you now say that
good.
You now sit down and now say, yes, I saw this man there. What was he doing there? You don't know.
Even some female detectives have to date and even
no, this is a different. Don't let us pretend that
what are we
this is a different one. If you struggle to sit close to these people at the mosque at occasions, invited, is it not an attempt to
struggle? I wouldn't know what they mean by struggling to sit with. Remember,
there are pictures of him at mosque prayer period.
What if he was Magu cannot just on his own wake up and leave his office and start going on those if nobody invited him
the mosque
to the mosque? Yes, we all know that most of if he can, Magu cannot unless somebody invited. What is he going to dare to do?
There's a Jumat service. The pictures we saw is
beautiful. Now they are praying.
No, you see, let me give you a scenario. I've been trying to interview a big man for some time, and somebody said to me the best way to get him is to begin to attend. You understand? Yeah. So if Bagbo needs the ears of these people, and so well, they will come to pray at social mosque, and there's an opportunity to meet them, and from there they exchange contacts, and beginning to see the religion in Nigeria as my fellow religious brother. Is that not already tampering with the evidence?
Now, what if he's there on part of his assignment to monitor or to get a certain information? Yes. Look at we cannot look at this thing from one angle. Let us balance it. What if there's an allegation that a particular corrupt official is dining, and maybe you say, okay, when you go to this mosque, you'll see them together, and the man happens to be there in order to see if he can see them together? Nobody's looking at that angle. Mr. Dele, Ayodo, all these allegations are laughable allegations.
There are 109 members of the Senate now. Why would Nigerians not trust half of them or many of them, even if you don't trust some of them?
I cannot even trust any of them. Not even talking of half.
The ones you voted for too.
Well, you see, that's the irony of democracy. In democracy, you count votes, you don't weigh. Now look at what's happening in USA. You count votes, you don't weigh. So the mere fact that these people were voted, and in any case, some of these people, we know how they were voted. We know how they forced their way into the Senate. So it's not the topic for today's discussion. And I don't want to start mentioning it. We know it. Let's start with senators representing us at the Senate. Are these people we trust? That's the question. If you ask me, my own answer is no. In fact, I can't even believe anything coming from the Senate. We have seen the Senate last year, issue of budget padding. Who padded those budgets? Who padded them? Is it Magu? That's the issue. Senate should first of all sit down, remove the log in their own eyes before seeing the speck. Now, if they want corruption to be fought, let's give the presidency his free hand. Let him appoint whoever he believes that can do that job. If that job doesn't get done, hold him responsible.
Now, Lawyer Iwu, now the challenge here is that the anti-corruption war is being questioned and it's being threatened, so to speak. In fact, very few Nigerians have much hope as regards this ongoing anti-corruption war. Don't you think the Mr. President will be smart to beat a retreat as regards this opposition to Magu?
If you're talking about anti-corruption, if you ask me, in fact, the truth is, if you want to wage this war effectively, 99.999 of Nigerians should be in jail now because we are all corrupt. Okay, that is the starting point. Now the thing is, now okay, we know OBJ set up this EFCC with what's his name now? My very good friend, the
first chairman.
Yes,
Nuhu Ribadu
as chairman. We also what happened. Okay, it was so glaring. But in this case now, people are saying, okay, fine, that the president is picking out PDP members. Fine, let the man go there, pick out PDP members out in 2019 or thereafter, vote him out, put in PDP, then let the PDP people go after APC. I think by the time we do all these things, we will know where we are. The thing is, corruption there must be a starting point.
There is a high moral question on these issues, even if these allegations were not proven. But one issue Nigerians have also queried is this our sit-tight attitude on everything. So that's why I go back to that same question. On high moral pedestal, should Magu himself continue to like that job?
I like I said earlier, I'm not Magu salesman, and I wouldn't want to disagree. What if the president says, "Come, we don't want you today," and then the man now is saying, "I want to"? That's when I will now say reason with you. But the president is saying, "Come, this is the man I want." So the issue of him wanting to sit down there does not arise. If the president has said, "Come, I don't want you," and the man is now trying to force himself on the presidency, it's a different ball game. But the presidency is saying,
Iwu, I know you are a lawyer. I'm not, but there's something I know about the lawyer and the judge. That the moment you don't have confidence in the judge handling your case, you are immediately frustrated and want to have a change. This is not the kind of
don't go there. One, this is not a legal issue. Two, even at that is why the constitution makes provision for the court of appeal.
But on this occasion, there is no appeal.
So
the senators cannot appeal. Like it or not, they constitutionally are representing some group of Nigerians. The only person they can appeal to is the person on trial. That is the presidency.
Good. And the presidency is saying, this is the man I want. Now, what is the guarantee that if the president should backslide and now say, okay, and now brings in Mr. B to replace Magu? What is the guarantee that the senators will not now say, yes, we this one too, we don't want him? Maybe because the wife doesn't blah, 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 blah. You see the folly of the whole thing.
So at this point, how do you think this will be resolved?
The president should, if I'm the presidency, I would insist on this guy for whatever it is.
Dictatorship.
It's not dictatorship. In fact, if you ask me, I think we need a bit of dictatorship in this part of the world. We need a bit of dictatorship. Now, this is what I want, and because of this particular reason, we have to be dictatorial to fight corruption in Nigeria. I have to say it. We have to be dictatorial to fight corruption.
Would you say that was one of the reasons why Mr. President was voted in by millions of Nigerians, and why there is so much discontent now, because he seems to have been too much of a repentant Democrat and not showing those dictatorial tendencies?
I think so, but then if we have to look at it from this angle, the first time Buhari was in power in 1983 or thereabout, there was no National Assembly under military rule. Now, that is why all these institutions are there to checkmate him. And in any case, Buhari himself will tell you that he is now a kind of a reformed human being. I mean, he's now more like a Democrat. But I tell you, we need such people who, like we say, who are stubborn. Because most times our choices are based on sentiments. And a leader has to look at the issue. Okay, let's digress a little. Let's come home to Ogun State. Now we'll see what the governor did in terms of infrastructure. Now, before now, who would have ever believed that places like Itoku can be touched? People will say, no, don't go there, Itoku, you can't touch. But the guy went there, not only touched Itoku, bulldozed his way, but today people are praising him. So a leader must have to have that ability to go beyond public sentiment.
But in terms of having our institutions structure, stand and work, independence of each arms of government, will this not affect it?
You see, that really is a different thing entirely. The problem we are having in Nigeria, like in most African countries, is that the institutions are not strong. And we are the people not making the institutions strong. Now, now the presidency is saying, come, this is the man I feel that can do this job, and you are saying no because he's sitting in the same, you was sitting in the same flight with, you don't want, and you are looking for somebody, perhaps somebody you can.
They have not suggested the name.
Must we now wait for them to, when they suggest a name? Must we wait? At least we have to see at this stage, my brother, somebody, when you look at somebody put with hands in the pocket, you should be able to speculate what he's going to bring out. Are you with me? Now we have seen this kind of thing even with that is the code of conduct stuff now. Okay, the Senate themselves amending the code of conduct act in the midst of a trial of the Senate president. So this is the kind of Senate that is also rejecting a president, a nominee of the presidency, and you want me to support the Senate, even if they have all the reasons all the best reasons in the world. I will not support them because I don't have confidence in the Nigerian Senate.
My question is, should the Nigerian populace allow our leaders to take decisions for us from their whims and caprices and then their dreams?
Of course, yes. That's why we elected them. If you know a leader that cannot take the right decision, you don't vote for him. Once you vote for a leader, you are voting for him because you have absolute confidence. But when you vote for a person because of primordial or sentimental reasons, well, at the end of the day, you pay for it. That is the more reason why when we are voting, we have to look at both sides of the game. This fellow we are voting for, can he take an independent action? If we know we cannot, then you don't vote for him. And once you voted by him, either by mistake or by whatever, well, there's nothing you can do. You only have to wait. Pray to God for another 4 years so that you have the opportunity of voting him out.
Another suggestion has come as a result of the crisis we have now, that leadership at EFCC should be made in succession. That is, in hierarchy, you graduate rather than just bringing in anybody. But this way we will have resolved this crisis. So if the man is not performing, the next person below him takes over.
that suggestion is also laughable because we know this. I know in Nigeria, the Nigeria I live in, if you even do it that way, believe you me, the moment the next turn, the person to be, something will happen and you see maybe he has retired or something, and then they will now bring him from nowhere, from the blues, the fellow they want. So this is.
No, I'm talking of hierarchy. For instance, the man there is level 16. He knows that the level 15 officer or the deputy is the person who will take over from him. So
what stops you from retiring the level 15 man for whatever reason, and then you promote? We've seen it happen.
Okay, I understand.
Yes.
You promote the level 9.
Yes, we see it happen.
Okay.
So understand? You see it happen. They will give you one very beautiful reason, and everybody will be clapping.
Like we do have in the police force.
That's good. That's the problem we have because most of us, we are very, very sentimental. Very, very sentimental. Very, very sentimental.
But how do we get around this? Being dictatorial may not solve it if we are working towards democracy, the world's defined democracy.
Now, being dictatorial may not solve all the problems. But the thing is, the Senate should be the ones that should retreat. Let the presidency have their way and hold Magu accountable. Hold the presidency accountable.
It will let me put you on task. Let us assume that the Senate have their way and the president decides to drop Magu. Which name will you push forward?
Sincerely speaking, I'm not in
which manner of person?
I'm not in a position to put forward any name.
Because at a point in time, before Magu Lamode were appointed, we've had names like Wale Soyinka mentioned at a point some years ago. Yes,
let me say this.
Names were mentioned.
Let me say this. I have absolute confidence in Mr. President in these issues. Now, thank you. You have mentioned this issue of custom. When he did what he did in custom, I think what happened? We were crying. Everybody was shouting himself was. But look at custom today. So if Mr. President feels, or maybe he could now go and look for a retired army colonel and now put him there. And then you see the senators themselves shouting that he has now militarized the EFCC. EFCC itself has its own problem, and I was thinking that the Senate of the National Assembly will be interested in kind of carrying out a wide-reaching reform in EFCC. Okay, because EFCC, it got to a stage that in fact you have issue with your boyfriend, you go and arrest the man with EFCC. It got to this stage in this country.
Yes, at the point EFCC was doing the job of INEC.
I'm not even INEC. I'm telling you, domestic. Domestic. So these are the kind of thing I would have thought the National Assembly would have concerned themselves with, rather than all this mundane thing of what they are saying. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, for goodness sake.
All right, yes, Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM in the seat of Abuja Citizens Forum this morning. I'm trying to look at the ongoing controversy over the appointment or the confirmation of the EFCC boss, Ibrahim Magu, as the chairman of the EFCC boss. We will soon go for the news break, but people have also talked about the tribal issue over these appointments. From Nur Ribadu to Faidat Waziri to Lamode to Magu, and now our legislators say they don't want him. The presidency insisting on him, and some Nigerians said, why the northern job? Or why the job for the northern bloc? Is this a factor?
Well, you see, the problem is, that's the beauty of the Nigerian society. You see, nobody really is interested whether the fellow is competent, whether the fellow is capable, whether he can do that thing. Well, bring in Patrick Iwu now. That, okay, the president is nominating him. You see, some people from our own part of the state will now tell you, why bring this man? Why don't you go here? So the problem is endemic. If you want to fight corruption for this country, or if you just want to do anything, I mean, we should set aside all this tribal, whatever it is. Get the man who can do the job. If he doesn't do that job, we'll take him up. We gave you this job to do. You've not been able to do it. I personally, this is my own personal opinion, and I may be wrong. I don't really care if all the ministers in the presidency, whether it is General Muhammadu Buhari or that of Obasanjo or that of any other person, come from the same village, as long as that job is done. Now, what will Nigerian and the nation gain when you spread the thing and that job is not being done, and that is what we are facing.
You are talking about equity and unifying us as a diverse nation.
Now, you're talking about unity now. Do you think if you give to the Igbo tribe what belongs to them, they will raise an issue? Do you think you give to the Yoruba tribe what belongs to them by even whoever, they will raise an issue? If the Hausa man goes there and gives to the Igbo man what he's entitled to, gives to the Yoruba man what he's entitled to, do you think there will be any issue? But this is a country where there will still be issues. Because nobody will now looking at what is being given out by, but the thing is the hand that is given out. Why should it be the Hausa man? Now you put an Igbo man there. Igbo man denies you what you are, denies the Igbo man what he's entitled to. Okay? Do you think the other people will be clapping? Or the rest Igbos will be clapping? So that's the problem. And that's why I tell you the issue of sentiment. Look, before corruption is not the major problem Nigeria has as a nation, it's sentiment.
All right, we must take this break for the national news at 10 to come up. After that, we'll still have with us lawyer Mr. Patrick Iwu, looking at the question, should it be Mango for the EFCC job? Don't go anywhere.